my number 5 would actually start with, ironically, from Thor: The Dark World. And it was when the Collector, whenever the Asgardians, when Lady Sif and I forgot the other guy's name, came to the Collector with the ether, with essentially the Reality Stone, and were giving the Reality Stone to the Collectors for him to hold it in.
Yep.
And it was in that moment was the first time that we actually got the name the Infinity Stones.
I did not realize that. Okay, there we go.
Which was a huge revelation. Before it was just these were different. It was the Tesseract, the Ether, the right.
So they named it.
That was number 5 for me. Number 4 was at the end of Iron Man, whenever Nick Fury came to Tony Stark and he said, "Hey, have I talked to you about the Avengers Initiative?" Which was in 2008, mind blowing. Like, yo, what could we get some? Because Iron Man was so good, so realistically set, and to be able to get this, what the possibility was, which, not knowing that at the time they had no idea what they just threw it in there just for the sake of throwing it in there with the possibility, but they didn't actually have a plan legitimately on where to go with it. So the fact that they had that set was just that literally opened up the world. That literally opened up the world. Number 3 for me was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The end credit on that one was when we were inside.
Is it the Hydra one with?
Exactly, with the Hydra one. Whenever we first revealed Wanda and Pietro Maximoff. Because
that was huge. Yeah, in hindsight, it's huge, wasn't it?
That was massive because one, it was the questions. I mean, that always has been and always will be: are there mutants in this world yet? Which obviously at the time Fox owned that, so we're just like, how does this work? And then the second part was the revelation of the Speedster and the possible Scarlet Witch, which again they didn't ever officially use the name Scarlet Witch until obviously recently. Yeah. So that was huge in just the revelation, because we're just like, yo, is Magneto coming? Like,
coming? Well, he saw it. He said the Hydra guy said the age of the age of heroes is over. The ages of miracles or magic or something is here.
Yeah, something like that.
Kind of kicked that all off, really, didn't it?
Oh man, like you don't realize how much it was until you look back at how the ripple effect really hit. Number 2 for me was at the end of Thor Ragnarok, because this might have been the darkest one, but it was whenever Thanos' ship, rose up.
That was
Guardian ship.
I mean, that was like the green light. We go. Thanos is here. Like, no more mucking around. It's go. Yeah, that was huge.
That was heavy. That was very heavy. And then the last one for me that really kicked off was the end of Spider-Man: Far From Home, whenever Mysterio revealed Peter Parker's identity on everything, because obviously it was like, oh, is it gonna go, and then it clips out and then it comes back onto the big screen.
I mean, that was huge. That was because that had Mysterio back, but not back.
Right.
It kind of continued the movie. Mysterio had one more trick up his sleeve. It had J. Jameson, which was like, there he is.
The revelation of J. Jameson in the J. Jameson, what's his name?
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, no.
The Daily Bugle.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the equivalent, our real world equivalent.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. J. Jonathan Jones is what I like to say. J. Jameson Jones.
And the thing is, having Simmons back was another really strong multiverse. Yeah, that was like the multiverse is closer than you think.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Exactly.
no, that was a lot of people walked away from that movie talking about that end credit sequence. It was also a very good
Woo!
movie, but that was
It
the
was-
one everyone was jumping off the ceiling about that
you
end
know,
credit
you know
sequence.
what's ironic? That movie is the weakest of the trio of Spider-Man movies so far.
And still better than Captain Marvel.
Oh my goodness, like we don't even need to go into that. I forgot to even look at what a Captain Marvel post-credit scene was because I just didn't even want to remember anything.
I don't even remember it either. I just remember
Oh, I
hers was
remember.
the
It was whenever Nick Fury went into space, but we've got no payoff from that yet.
yeah, that one has just been left hanging. Well, we have a little bit of payoff in the WandaVision where one of the Kree comes up to
Oh, right,
and
and
points
that's
up.
true.
Yeah,
Wait, was
but
that
you're right.
WandaVision or was that
No, that's in
Falcon and the Winter
WandaVision
Soldier?
because no, that was what's her face, Rambo,
Yeah, that's right. That's
Monica
right.
Rambo. When she comes up to, they're outside. She says, "Come, I want to speak to you." They go inside the theater and he points. But even that hasn't yet been,
It hasn't been a full payoff yet.
and we haven't even seen anything else much other than that. So,
Yeah.
all right, that's a pretty good top five. It's pretty hard to nail these down to five because there's so many good ones.
And look, I didn't even go into the TV shows because I feel like at the end of they always do the back three or so, back four, where they start giving you end credits into that. So I didn't even want to start touching those because that became.
Well, the good news is I went where you fear to tread. So my top five includes TV shows. There's a little bit of overlap there. So I had Moon Knight as the first one because when the credits rolled at the end of the last episode, it was like Jack Lockley.
Yeah, that's true. That Lockley. That was,
and then Jack Lockley. There he was.
Freaking amazing.
And I think it might be the only. Probably not the only because there's so many now to look at, movies or show, where they set up something for the whole series and paid it off in an end credit sequence. They didn't put it in the body of the show,
but
they actually put it in the end credit sequence.
I think this might be the first time that if it's been done, I don't think it's ever been done as satisfactorily as that. Because typically what will happen is they'll bring it and it feels so open-ended that you feel like it was almost just like, why did you even tease this? Whereas in Moon Knight, not only it was such a short period, but it felt like there was a closure. Like not even like a closure, like closure in the sense of like, I know who Jake is. We know exactly who this person is. We have an idea of who this character is and what they can do. Now we just want to see the potential.
But without that end sequence, the fact that if you think about it previously, the last thing we see in that series is Mark Spector or Stephen Grant waking up in the bed. And if it was left there, you'd think, hang on, was that all a dream?
Yeah.
But that end credit sequence says, nope, this is all the real deal. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
So Moon Knight, number 4, as far as setting up what was happening next really, really well, was Ant-Man and the Wasp, with Ant-Man getting caught in the quantum zone and Hank Pym and Mrs. Pym and the Wasp just all disappearing. It was like, okay, that's how they're going to do this. That's how they're going to do this Endgame thing. This is all right. So,
you know what the thing is? I remember whenever that came, and I think that one had less impact for me because of when it came out. Like it came out right after Infinity War. It was just it was impossible to carry the weight of Infinity War and to continue on even with that because it felt like it was so after the fact. It was like, all right, I already know what happened. Like, what can you add here? But its significance to Endgame, you're right, was everything.
So, and because such a fan of Endgame, number 3, and to me, this is because of the Multiverse of Madness, which was the end credit of WandaVision, with her, in the dark hold, the boys crying out. That was a great post-credit because I thought it added a lot more to I was a little disappointed by the finale of WandaVision, but that last bit with her in the dark hold, you remember, what I'm talking about?
Of course. Sitting in whenever it looked like she was just walking around outside and sitting on the cabin floor.
No.
She was inside.
And I think if I think originally, Multiverse of Madness was supposed to come out closer to WandaVision, and I was thinking about this the other day. Is if they had done that, and particularly with that post-credit sequence, there wouldn't be a lot of people saying, "What about Vision? What about Vision? What about Vision?" I think because that is such a that post-credit speaks so much to what's about to happen in Multiverse of Madness. It's such a it's so important to that. It's almost impossible to. It's not now almost impossible to watch anything in Marvel without having an idea of what's going on beforehand. But I know, and I just love that. I just loved because that showed her she was getting dark. Like she had her when she left Westview, her I'm sorry, sorry wasn't very convincing at all. And then when she gets to the Darkhold, it's like sorry, not sorry,
Yeah.
So number 2, I'm with you on Far From Home. For everything we just talked about, I thought that was, that was just. I thought, that's just the best. And again, a relatively sedate Spider-Man, but a very good. I thought the 3 Spider-Mans were great. Number 1 is where you feared. So let's give an honorable mention. I will give an honorable mention to that Thor Ragnarok one.
Yeah,
because it just set up. Oh, now we're entering into dark territory.
It's now begun.
It had begun, and I was right into that. So, and there's a couple more there. I thought, gee, that I really dug that. I thought again, but I think it was an end credit sequence. At least I remember it to be an end credit sequence, which is the Captain America First Avenger. I put it as my number 1. I took a chance. I took a chance. Ignorance is bliss. To me, that's an end credit sequence. I don't care what anyone says. And it just added so much to that whole movie.
Amazing. Look, I remember
set up that whole phase,
Yeah. I remember sitting in the theaters for that, and you just like, oh my God. Just
getting
it
more
all
more.
comes together.
Oh yeah. It did.
Man.
But it just and just the fact I just love that his last line is, I was supposed to meet someone for a dance.
Yeah.
And it brought that character, Yes, you're in the middle of New York. You've got a 1940s dude stuck in New York, surrounded by guns, and you've got all this stuff happening, and you've got Nick Fury there, and he turns around and he says, I missed a dance with the girl I loved. And that's why the whole Endgame finishes with him dancing with the girl. It was character.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe.
Die. Oh, die.